Hi viewers and welcome. Today I want to show you how to save a selection in Blender using the named selection add-on which I created. So how useful is it? Well, think about this. There are many times you may have to keep reselecting one or more objects whilst working in Blender. This can be super annoying when you keep doing this over and over again and have no way of quickly making that selection. Well, it is not just about annoyance, but also the amount of precious time that is wasted doing so. So with this add-on, you can save time and improve your workflow by saving those selections and loading them anytime you need them. Now, so because I love apples and bananas, I have created this scene to demonstrate the add-on. Now, if I head over to the outliner, you can see that I've created two collections, one for the apples and the other for the bananas. Now, if I open the apples collection, you can see I have two more collections, one for the red apples and the other for the green apples. And if I head over to the bananas collection, you can see I have one for the ripe bananas and another for the unripe bananas. Now, with this level of organization, it is quite easy to select any of the fruits in a collection or in a parent collection. For example, if I want to select all the red apples, I can quickly do so by right-clicking on the red apples and choosing Select Objects. As you can see from the viewports, all the red apples are selected. And if I want to select all the apples, whether green or red, I can do so by right-clicking on the parent apples and choosing Select Objects. However, if I want to select the big apples and the big bananas, because they are not in one collection or they do not share a single parent collection, I cannot use this method to do so. I will have to select them individually, which is slower. For the first time, it might not be a big deal, but doing this several times can really impact the speed of your work. But not anymore, because with the named selection add-on, I can save the selection and quickly load it anytime I need it. So, I will go ahead and show you how to install the add-on. You can find a link to its zip file in the video description below. If you already know how to do this, then you can skip the next section. Alright, to install the add-on, I'm going to go over to the Edit menu and select Preferences. And I will make sure I am on the add-ons section. And next, I will head over to the Install an Add-on button and click on it. Now, the zip file for the add-on is already located here. So if you have downloaded it, go and then locate that file. And once you have located it, you can click on it and select or click on Install Add-on. Now, once the add-on is installed, you will see it displayed here as named selections. All right. But to enable it, you have to click on this checkbox. Once you have done this, you can go ahead and close the dialog. All right. Now, to locate the dialog, we need to head over to the sidebar under the View tab and go all the way to the bottom. As you can see, I have it over here. All right. Let me just expand it. And now I usually like to have this at the top of all the other sections on the View tab. So let me click on this handle over here and let's drag it all the way to the top. All right, so now let's go over the UI of the named selection tool. The first item is the Show Info panel. And under this panel, you have the Check for Update button, which will check for the latest update for the named selection. Next is the Show Release Note, which will show the current release notes for the installed version. Then we have the Documentation button for viewing the online documentation and the Tutorials button for viewing a list of tutorials on my YouTube channel for this add-on. Alright, so below that we have two buttons here, the Add button and the Remove button. Now these buttons are for adding a new named selection and removing it respectively. Now below those two buttons is the list box, which is for displaying all the added named selections. And below that we have several buttons for managing a named selection. And I'm going to be touching on each of them as we progress through the tutorial. Alright, so now let's look at how to create a new named selection. To create a new name selection, you need to first make sure you select the objects that you want to add to the name selection, and then you will click on the Add button. So for example, let's create a name selection for all the big fruits. So I'm going to go ahead and select them from the viewport. Okay, so I have finished selecting all the big fruits as you can see from the viewport. So I will head over to the Add button and click on it. And I will leave this at the default name and click on OK. As you can see, the name selection is now added to the list box. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for all the small fruits. Alright, so I have finished selecting all the small fruits and I'm going to click on the Add button, and this time I want to give it a name. So I will call this small fruits. Now I have gone ahead and added two more. This one called the big apples and this one called the big bananas. Alright, so now if you are no longer interested in a named selection, you can easily remove it by selecting it and clicking on the Remove button. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the small fruits named selection. So I'll first select it and click on the Remove button. So as you can see, the small fruits is no longer displayed here. Alright, so now the next object below is the Select Objects button. And this will allow you to select all the objects in a named selection. So if I want to select all the big fruits, I will first select its name selection and then click on the Select Objects button. As you can see, all the big fruits have been selected. Now, one thing to note is that this will actually disable any previous selection you had in the viewport before selecting the objects in the name selection. To demonstrate this, I'm going to first select the table and then I'm going to click on the Select Objects again. And as you can see, the table is deselected. Now, if you want to keep your original selection and append the selection for the named objects, you can do so by pressing Shift on the keyboard before clicking on Select Objects. So if I reselect my table again and press Shift and click on Select Objects, you can see the table is still selected. Alright, so now the next button is the Add Objects button. This will allow you to include more objects in a name selection. Now to do this, you will first of all select the objects you want to include and select the name selection you want to include those objects for and click the Add Objects button. Alright, so let's say I want to include these three small size bananas in the unnamed selection. So I'm going to go ahead and select them. And next, I will make sure that the unnamed name selection is the active one and click on Add Objects. Now, if I deselect this once and if I click on Select Objects, you will see that these three small size bananas have now been added to the big fruits. Now, let's assume if that was a mistake and we want to remove them from the big fruits. We can do so by using this button over here, which is Remove Objects. So I'm going to go ahead and select the three small bananas and click on Remove Objects. And next, if I should select all the objects in the unnamed selection, you can see now the three small size bananas are not included in the selection. Now, if I want to completely empty a named selection, I can do so with this next button, which is the Remove All Objects button. Alright, so let's say I want to empty the Big Apples name selection. Well, first I have to select it and click on Remove All Objects. So if we try to select the objects for the big apples, you will see that we have no objects selected in the viewport. Now, the last button, as you may guess, is for renaming a name selection. So if you look at this first one, I don't like this name. I mean, this is not easy to recognize. So let's rename this. So let's go ahead and click on the Rename button and then we can rename this to big fruits. Alright, so that is it. As you can see, the add-on is very simple to use. So thank you for watching the tutorial, and please provide some feedback in the comment section below. Let me know of any improvements you would like for me to add to the add-on. I will be adding some other useful tips for this add-on, so subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification to be updated whenever I load a new video.